So all of that stuff's feeding in 0.5 gigabytes per person per day. Okay, every time you click, every time you search, every time you type. Why do you think they don't let you take the battery out of a phone? Because it never goes off. Even when you turn it off. You have a UV mirror and you shake your phone, the UV counter will move. It's always listening. It's always collecting data. So then you've got all these rules and regulations. You have to be a good boy, a good girl. And so then now you realize after years and years, I'm successful. I live in a $1.3 million home in California on a hill with an ocean view, and I'm making over $250,000 a year, and I feel empty, unfulfilled, and trapped. What do you mean? My gosh, people want to have your life. Well, I don't have the life. I'm not living my life. I'm living what everyone else wanted me to live. I didn't want this house. I didn't even want that job. But you were supposed to have it. Yes, I know. I was supposed to go through all this so I would realize, so that's how you end up not living your life. The child has a DNA. And scientists have figured out now, only 10% of the DNA they were able to actually specify that it had function. What about the other 90%? Now they're realizing each one of those DNA things, the vortices, they're like little wormholes. Where you can now telepathy, intuition, clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, clairaudience. The way that in the Kabbalah we now communicate. I just think beautiful thoughts about you, LA, and immediately your heart receives it and your brain gives you the function and the signaling, no matter where you are. I don't need to have a network of computers to do this, right? Well, the power of God. What's the power of God? He said power left him. Well, okay, go to the next verse then. What did he say? What did he say? Did he say God healed you? No. Did he say I healed you? No. What did he say? You healed you. So what does that mean? Doesn't fit your paradigm, does it? I didn't think so. See, and that's what I had to grow up with. I was not giving them my opinion. I always used whatever they said they believed in, and I asked them questions. And they couldn't answer their own stuff because they really didn't read it and they really didn't research it and figure it out for themselves. And they really just gave you what they believed in, not what was in the book.
So I asked the universe for a sign and you gave me static. Try again.
Connection established. Incoming vessel, the messenger, Captain, Vangelis Kalogirou. Designation, techno-spiritual architect. Function, reprogrammer of belief systems. Quantum interpreter of the unseen. Frequency, heart-brain coherence. Captain Kalogirou carries extensive field data on human paradox, divine intelligence, and the cellular memory of stars. He speaks the ancient code and remembers how to feel. The Council welcomes you aboard.
Hello, Captain LA here of the Ether of Voyager.
Hello.
It is nice to meet your acquaintance.
Likewise.
Alright, so every time I encounter a new traveler, I created a little game as an icebreaker. It is the Cosmic Wheel of Wisdom. And we spin the wheel, it'll land on the random question, and you get to answer. You ready?
Okay.
Alright.
Cosmic Wheel
of Wisdom. What's one mystery of the universe you wish you could solve? It's a good one.
Wow, that's a good one. One mystery. I got a lot of them. So I guess we'll have to just kind of choose something. How to connect to wow.
That is a good
One
one.
would be
That's
how to
probably
connect to
one
the
of hardest ones.
collective consciousness. I can just do that. How to connect to a collective consciousness.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, that's the hardest one I've seen so far. So that is a good one. Yeah, it's how to connect to the cosmic consciousness. That's a great one. And so, first question I want to ask you. is I am a fan of quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and I like having something explain the mysterious and the magical. And for me, that's what that does for me. So, how do you think quantum mechanics explains reality and trigger word manifestation?
What comes to my mind is back in 1908 when Einstein and Max Planck were transferring correspondence back and forth. And basically there's a whole bunch of different things that went back and forth, but one of the challenges they had was something else was changing the results of their experiments. And since physics, they thought, well, physics is physics, this, you get this. But there were some differences that were appearing to happen and they couldn't explain it right away. And so they started digging deeper and realizing that observation, thoughts, seem to be making a difference in the results of the experiments. And that was quite a big leap at that time, because when you realize that Einstein's theory of relativity and stuff, he was going just to the fourth dimension. He wasn't getting into the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, and ninth, and so forth. And so the idea behind the construct of time allows you to realize that everything's a probability, everything's a possibility. And so when you think of it like that, are you really manifesting? Or could you be actually being the observer, and maybe you're the one that's actually, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're actually creating it. All right? So that means that it's not done yet. There's nothing really fixed. And that was proven by Dr. Bruce Lipton when he took the nucleus out of a cell, and they thought it would die, and it didn't. And so they realized that stimulating the membrane, the cell was living for several months and responding to stimulation, doing all of its activities. The only thing it couldn't do was replicate. And so they quickly realized that means that outward stimulation influences the cell. Well, what is an outward stimulation? Thoughts, emotions, all those things are outward stimulation. So that means that everything's a possibility and has not yet been done yet. So now, do we have things that we have in play? Here was why I was talking about collective consciousness, right? Because if you really follow this thread where everything is all connected, meaning that for the universe to be perfect, the universe is perfect. That means that all of us are perfect in the way that we are. Because if we weren't, the universe wouldn't be perfect. God wouldn't be perfect. Spirit wouldn't be perfect, right? Because there couldn't be a missing link. Everything has to be connected. So if you think of it from that perspective, that means that just consider that before we came here, we had a goal, an objective, a mission to accomplish. And whenever you do something, you look and see what your resources are, find out what resources you need to be able to accomplish the objective. And maybe when we come here, we say, all right, just like a computer program, if then else. If this, you branch here. If this, you branch here. So maybe all the branches are already scripted, but I have a choice. I could take this branch or this branch or this branch or this branch. So I am still getting to the end goal. Instead of taking 4 miles, I might take 20. Right? So you see what I mean? So there's like a mixture of fixed and probabilities. So that it's like I want to go to New York and I'm in California. I can go train, plane, bus, car, walk, bike, right?
Mm,
But I have a goal in mind, but it's not fixed how I get there, right? So if I want to manifest something, maybe it's not that I'm manifesting, maybe it's the fact that I'm placing myself at a level of consciousness where that already exists. Because why would I have that desire unless it already exists and the way for it to happen already exists?
mm.
So that's how I would talk about that.
Yeah, and you know what? I love the way you put that. I was saying to someone recently how I feel like life is like one of those choose your own destiny games or books where it's a bunch of possibilities, but it's up to you to choose the route that you get there. So pretty much what you were saying, and
But there's a piece in there that you just said though, LA.
mhm,
If you do not know you have the choice,
mhm,
see that's where like the way I grew up, my environment, if I want your opinion, I'll give it to you.
mhm,
And it was subtle. It was really subtle because you think you have a choice. Like I had just gotten my driver's license. I was 16. My mom was in the passenger side. We get to an intersection. I said, which way should I go? Oh, you can go any way you want to, but go straight ahead. Was was there a choice in that? It's so subtle, right? You can go anywhere you want to, but go straight ahead, right? So you said something really powerful. You have to believe you have the influence and the choice that
mm,
you can do something.
mm. And you know what? That is so true. And then what you said about the subtlety of, I guess I'll call it like programming or you know,
Yeah.
I had the illusion of freedom in my life. So I was able to exist and just, be like, oh, okay, you can go do what you want. However, there's this idea of the path that I think that you should go down so you can be as free as you want as long as you go down this path. Yeah.
Yeah, and see that's part of where quantum theory plays a role because, like I said, I have a lot of ways I can get to a goal, but maybe it's almost like you see a hero at the end of the movie. They
Mhm.
had to go through all these things to be equipped
Mm.
with what would allow them to be the hero, right?
Yes.
So a lot of us, we come here and we say, okay, I need to meet this person. I need to meet this person. Why? Because that person's going to teach me this. That person's going to teach me this. I'm going to learn this here. And so that's going to equip me so that when I get here, I'll have all the tools and resources.
Yeah, and that's another great point because I kind of felt like in my life that I was like you said, you can either go down this path and maybe that'll take 4 hours, and you go down this path, it might take 20 hours. And I kind of went the 20-hour path, right? I kind of went around here, take this, look back around, and come here just to get to this point. But along the way, every single experience has shaped me to the person I am today. Every single one. And it was something recently that I've been grappling with the idea of destiny. And is there a set destiny? Whether, it doesn't really matter how you get there, but is there a set destiny in life? And I felt like when I looked back at everything led me to the moment I am today. So I'm like, huh, I never really thought about the idea of destiny really being a thing, but I'm coming around to it just because experience in life, like I said, going back, like little moments or just pieces of the puzzle that created this whole picture today. So, what do you think about destiny?
There's so many ideas about what is my mission on this earth. If you look at all the challenges you have, that's probably your mission.
Hmm.
Because, right? So let's, for example, let's say that my mission was to realize I have agency, I'm responsible for my life. I'm the one that creates it. Okay, so what do I do to learn that? I place myself into a family where there's a dictator. I place myself into a religious, strict environment where everything is dictated to you. I place myself in a school where everything is dictated to you. So that I would learn, well, wait a second, I'm not even living my life. No, you're not living your life. You're living the life based on the expectations of the dictations of others. Oh, so I would not have learned that had I not
Mm.
been placed in those environments. So that you could say that is a destiny to learn this. And then I may have another one where I realize, wait a second, are people just wanting me around because of all of my skills and my talents? You, maybe if I reduce myself to nothing,
Mm.
do I accept myself without my skills and all of my talents and all of my abilities? Or do I see that that's my only worth? So you start removing all that stuff and thinking, do I accept myself with no money? Do I accept myself with money? Do I accept myself without a house or with a house? You see what I mean? In a box with a fox, you know. Right. So you start realizing if you live in the world of duality, are you okay with money and without money? Because if you're okay with both, now you're polarized and now you can be neutral. And now it doesn't own you. You own you. That could be considered a destiny.
Mm. Yeah, it's something. It's like it's very powerful because that actually was my lesson over the past 3 years. Was learning how to accept myself, or really it was self-worth, right? I was brought up in a way where I had to give up my autonomy for everyone else around me, right? Because it's a community and you do for the community. And so my older sisters, they had children by the time I was like 12. So I found myself having to always step in and be of assistance, where it got to the point of I had no they didn't recognize my worth if I wasn't doing, if I wasn't giving. And so I had to go through the whole journey of realizing, okay, let me step away and see, one, that they'll be able to survive without me. So I'm not the thing holding it together. So breathe.
Yeah.
And two, now they have to find they have to accept the fact that I put up these boundaries, right? So now, where does my self worth lie in that? And also finding gratitude and appreciation for myself, which led to them having gratitude and appreciation for me. But as long as I was in that space of, well, I have to do this for them to appreciate me, it was always, well, do this so we can appreciate you. And the second part of that was in the self worth, learning about my relationship with money. That was a rough one. And realizing, well, what happened, pretty much everything that I built was stripped away. And so then I was existing in this space with no money. And it was like, okay, so now how do I feel about myself? Because I can't say, it's my job, my title, this is what I do, this is who I am. I don't have money. And now my self-worth was tied to being able to provide for myself and others. And I had to like strip all that away and really learn to appreciate what I actually did have, which I realized I had more resources available to me than I realized. But in my mind, money was the only resource because money allows you to do this, to do that. But when I stepped away from that, I realized that, oh, the energy of money or abundance comes in so many forms. So I found that it came in the form of information. It came in the form of my connections. And in that, yeah, I learned about the true essence of being abundant.
See, those are all destinies. See, because if you think about, there is no destination. destiny. There is no destination. All of it's a journey. Because otherwise, well, I've accomplished everything. Well, no, you're still expanding. You're still extending. So what we have are milestones,
Yeah.
places of celebration. So you could just, instead of saying destiny or destination, you can just say, I have a lot of points of celebration, a lot of points of, in your words, recognition, a lot of points of gratitude. And that's really good. I like the way you said that, because you could replace destiny with gratitude, recognition, celebration. You see what I mean? Because that's a really beautiful way of putting that.
Yeah, I like that as well. Yeah, you're right. And yeah, just different points of my life is it's like, yeah, you reach that point and it's on to the next, really, because it's a journey. So yeah. So what do you think the connection between spiritual awakening and scientific discovery is?
Well, when you say scientific discovery, what exactly do you have in
So
mind?
let's say let's think about maybe let's go back to what you said in the beginning when you were talking about how observation changes the outcome. And so, in a situation like that, learning that, okay, the energy that we put towards something changes the outcome, how does that actually affect us on a spiritual level, that type of understanding?
Of energy and
It could be
spirituality?
energy or anything. Yeah.
Well, I think part of what we were going to talk about today also was artificial intelligence, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me kind of tie all of that together, technology, science, and spirituality, if that's okay.
Yes.
All right? So you have a computer and you have a human. All right? The computer has no reference, no knowledge of anything. There's no database, there's no words, nothing. The newborn child has no database of references, no experiences, no words, no vocabulary. In fact, when you hold up a newborn child, their eyes are like this because they don't know what they're looking at. It's just a bunch of pixels. They don't know you're a nose or an eye, or it's just pixels. Okay? So they're both starting out pretty much the same. Now that's almost the whole truth, but let's just stay with that for right now. And then we'll get into the spirituality part. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's start with the scientific and technology stuff. So both of them are the same, right? If you told this child 3 plus 3 is 7, and you told this computer 3 plus 3 is 7, neither of them would know yes or no. Good, bad, right, or wrong. They go, okay, right, fine. Because there's no reference yet. So everything that you put into that child, everything you put into the computer, it's all the same, right? So when you have a newborn child, so that there's several states of the brain states, all right? And you've got the delta, which is between birth and 2 years old, and basically it's the closest to spirit, God, consciousness that you can get to, right? And then you've got the theta state, which is between 2 and 6 years old, and it's the rapid eye movement. It's where people are dreaming. It's where musicians go, oh, I wrote this song in my dreams, right? It's sometimes where you have a problem and you go to sleep, oh, I got the answer. So there's a lot of stuff that can happen in that theta state, right? And this is when people talk about the age of 2 to 6 there, the child is just pulling in information. The computer, you're feeding it all this information, millions of pieces of data, right? And so when they reach the age of 6 to 8, that's when they start physiologically, they've developed enough, actually physiologically developed enough, where they go into an alpha state, which is where they have now the ability of awareness of self. Okay, awareness of self, which means, when a baby is like, they don't know that that's their hand yet. Okay, and awareness of self is also what you are. See, if your mom and dad do not know what they are, they can't transfer that to the child. And the computer will only know what you tell it. The computer's no different than 1,000 neighbors. And that AI is no different than being in a boardroom with 20 of your board members and going, okay, everyone, I need some ideas. And they all give you your ideas. Well, the computer AI is, let's say, instead of 20 board members, you got 1 million board members. Okay? No difference. Instead of one teacher at school, you have 100,000 teachers at school. That's all it is. Okay? All right, so you're feeding information into both of these. Now, when you get to the age of 8, 9, something like that, that's when all of a sudden you create the analytical part of yourself. It's they call it the critical mind, the conscious mind, where you finally, I remember when it happened to me. My mom said, do not go out in the cold without a coat, you'll catch the flu. Okay. Flu, cold, coat. Got it. That summer I caught the flu and I thought, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Because she said it wasn't true. I thought, well, what else has she told me that wasn't true? Because I just believed everything she said. Everything the pastor told me, everything the teacher told me, everything my relatives told me. And remember, before that time, if someone told you, LA, you are brilliant. LA, you are stupid. It's the same thing. I'm not analyzing. I'm not filtering. Okay? You tell the computer, this is the truth. What does it tell you? Same thing the child. No difference. No difference. I started teaching computers in 2003 to interact with people in a contact center. Press 1 or say sales. Press 2 or say support. Right? So a child there's no such thing as a language. It's nothing but just sounds that people in a group or a culture have decided these sounds mean this. These sounds mean this. Right? Abba in German is but. Abba in English is, father, Hebrew, all that kind of stuff, right? So it's the same sound, but depending upon the context, right? So I'm teaching this computer to interact with people, right? Now, a TI calculator is artificial intelligence. It's just intelligence that's not flesh and blood. But it's artificial. Why? We are not our thoughts. We're not our thoughts, okay? And there's a book. Let me see what the name of that book is. It is. It's called The Biological Radio. Yeah, Biological Radio by B.B. Kinsky. And he says that thought is not transmitted, but the electromagnetic waves transmitted by the brain. Okay? In another book by Konstantin Korotkov, Consciousness, Brain Consciousness, he says that they did an experiment where they had a person in one room, another person in another room. This person thought, some thought about the other person. And they could see the energy. They thought the energy would start at the brain. It started at the heart. Okay? Went to the brain because the brain is a receiver transmitter. The brain, then they saw it went to the heart of the other person and then went to the brain so that the brain could signal the body how to respond. So they thought, let's put them 2,000 miles away. Same time frame. Okay? All right. So Now we're getting somewhere now. All right, so now watch. So energy, all right? So where does that all start? Well, I was watching this video of a zygote, and it split into 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 248, right? And then there was a time where it did this process called differentiation, where the cells said, you're going to be a kidney cell, you're going to be a spleen cell, you're going to be a lung cell, you're going to be a heart cell. And I thought, whoa, where did it get that intelligence? The zygote. I mean, because I was taught in school the brain's where the intelligence is. And I started realizing, because see, now that I was in my beta state where I could analyze, I'm thinking, it's like one of my teachers in school said, which way does the earth rotate? Clockwise or counterclockwise? And I raised my hand. Yes. Are we looking down or up? Whoa. Please don't tell me you're my teacher. Please tell me you're like someone that came in the room accidentally. That's what I mean. It was really becoming difficult for me because I'm thinking, okay. All right, so I started thinking about a lot of stuff. And I thought, well, wait a second. Energy, where'd that intelligence come from? Well, Dr. Bruce Lipton said the intelligence is in every cell. Okay, so if the intelligence is every cell, that means every cell is an intelligent being. Well, where do I have cells? Everywhere. Every cell is an intelligent being. Every cell is an intelligent being. So where's my mind? Every cell. Okay, now, so then, I'm reading in the book of Genesis. Let us make man in our image. And I'm thinking, oh, I thought God was only one. Okay, so now I'm reading in the Kabbalah. And it says, well, there's 18 books in the Kabbalah. I'm reading in a specific book. And it said, there are 32 wisdoms because the word in Genesis for God is Elohim, which means plural. That, okay, we're getting somewhere. So who's the our? It's the 32 wisdoms of God, of the Spirit. I thought, wait, there's 32 chakras. There's 7 primary, and then there's all the ones for every organ, and all the ones for your hands, your feet, your wrists, your elbows, and your eyes. Okay, now things are starting to connect to me. 32 chakras, 32 wisdoms. Wisdom in the Kabbalah does not require words. And we just got through reading in the one book, it says we're not transferring thoughts. We're not transferring words, but electromagnetic waves. Okay, I'm getting more connections here. All right. And what are we but nothing but an electrical device? What do you think pH is? pH is the voltage. We require minus 20 millivolts to just work as a mitochondria in our cells. We need minus 50 millivolts to replicate. And so we have a sodium-potassium pump in all of our cells that allows it to create the energy for the mitochondria so that we can actually replicate and work with our cells. So we're all this energy going around, right? And so I'm thinking, okay, so now let's go back to the computer and the child. So what is the only difference between that computer and this child? If I tell this child 3 plus 3 is 7 and 3 plus 3 is 7, neither of them can tell me no. So all of it is artificial intelligence because we are not our thoughts. Right?
Yes.
I mean, we're not our thoughts. Do you have the same thoughts today that you did 10 years ago, Ellen?
Absolutely not.
So if you were your thoughts, you would not be talking to me right now. And did we come into this world with thoughts? No. And the 32 wisdoms of God are not thoughts. It's energy. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So now, what is the difference? The child has a DNA. And scientists have figured out now, only 10% of the DNA they were able to actually specify that it had function. What about the other 90%? Now they're realizing each one of those DNA things, the vortices, they're like little wormholes where you can now telepathy, intuition, clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, clairaudience. The way that in the Kabbalah we now Communicate. I just think beautiful thoughts about you, LA, and immediately your heart receives it and your brain gives you the function and the signaling, no matter where you are. I don't need to have a network of computers to do this. Right? Okay, so let me pause there and you tell me what you're hearing so far. That's a lot, I know.
Yeah, it's a lot, but okay. So I'll just start with the first thing that's stuck in my mind right now. And so I was listening to Greg Braden, and he talks a lot
Yes.
about the brain heart coherence. And, it was the first time I actually heard someone explain about the heart being a brain, right? And that kind of like blew my mind. I'm like, wow, you know what? He's absolutely right, because our heart is so powerful. We are driven all the time, pretty much, by our heart, our emotions, and then the brain comes in, right? And so now you're talking about, okay, you receive this energy from your heart, it sends it to your brain, and, and then it starts, giving us all of these thoughts. And I realized in a lot of situations where I had to learn to connect with my intuition, my first instinct, was I tested it out, and I'm like, okay, so when my heart gives me like a nudge to do something, I'll do it. Now, when my heart gives me a nudge to do something, I'll wait. It doesn't take long, probably like 30 seconds, if that, the brain starts going. And I'll be like, okay, I'll do what the brain says. And every single time, the heart was always right. And the brain, sometimes it was right, but then that goes into me putting that energy there and creating whatever it was I was thinking about. But without thought, thought heart always led me to wherever I needed to be in that moment, whatever I needed to do. So yeah, just you explaining how when we're giving and receiving energy, that it goes through the heart first and then goes through the brain, and then when you transfer that, it goes directly to the heart first and then goes to the brain. It's like, yeah, this is something that I've definitely been learning a lot about, is operating from my heart space. So that's that. And I really enjoy how you said that we are not our thoughts. um because I think a lot of people are, they stop themselves because of the brain, because of whatever it tells them, whether it be fear or anything like that. The brain tends to get in the way a lot, and many people don't know how to come down from that space. I'm a very introspective person, so my mind is constantly going all the time. And yeah, I definitely have been learning a lot about really turning that switch off and just going with the flow of where I'm guided. Um, Now let's talk about DNA and the intelligence in our body. Like I was explaining to someone how, you know, no matter how you think about how we're created, the Big Bang or whatever you want to believe, um, but obviously there was a force that happened to create this whole universe. And so we all came from it. We are all a part of the universe. So we have all the knowledge and information of the universe within us inside of every cell. And we are made up of way too many cells to count. Um, and I was explaining this to someone about when I was talking about finding the wisdom that you need going within, right? Because we have all the information we need internally. And sometimes that just needs to be activated or whatever, but it is within us. And really finding that all information, all knowledge, all wisdom intuitively uh, has come from internal. And then when I went out into the world, anything outside of myself was like validation for that, like confirmation, like, okay, you know this thing, and here's your confirmation saying, I'm a human. I need validation. So it was like validation for me. But really embracing the fact that I can pull information from inside myself because it's not coming from me, it's coming from the universe, right? It's coming from every single thing that has ever happened that we can instinctively tap into. Um, like you said about how they separated those people, but they still were able to communicate instantly. I feel like we can pull information the same way. Um, yeah.
You said something that triggered my thought here. Yeah, because we had a question at the beginning. What's the mystery you'd like solved? And I said connecting to the collective consciousness, right? Well, that happens to we live in 3D. Okay, so the center of the core, Earth. Okay, the crystal or iron ore is 1D, and then you've got between that and the crust is 2D, where all the bacteria and all that kind of stuff lives, and then you've got us in 3D on the edge of the Earth, and 4D is the collective consciousness. You got the Akashic records, the shadow records, the Book of Life, all that type of stuff, right? So when you say I'm looking inside, you can read this in a lot of books. The way to the collective consciousness is through the heart. So if your heart is closed, you're cerebral. I lived that for first 50 years of my life, all in my head.
Have you ever looked at your phone and wondered who's actually observing who? If you've been experiencing sudden downloads, spontaneous deja vu, or the quiet suspicion that your DNA might be logging into something else, you may be exhibiting signs of heart-based operating system activation. The Intergalactic Council's Division of Quantum Sovereignty invites you to enroll in the Conscious Circuit Protocol. We do not teach artificial intelligence. We remind divine intelligence how to feel. Participants have reported enhanced intuition, memory upgrades, and a brief but beautiful identity crisis. Also, increased ability to detect lies via electromagnetic frequency. Reality is programmable, but only from the inside. The Conscious Circuit Protocol, because you're not becoming enlightened, you're just rebooting.
I wasn't allowed to feel. I had to shut off all my feelings. So I ignored my heart. Can't go by how you feel. There's songs. Love's not a feeling. I mean, there were songs like that. You know, it's like, well, then what do I have feelings for? Well, don't go by feelings. That's the devil. I mean, I kid you not. So when I had to connect back to my body, and then my heart expanded, and then you're now connecting to the collective consciousness, where now people say downloading, you know what. So am I going outside myself? No, because I'm going to the one, all in all one. Going outside myself is to say, now I want you to tell me what you think. That's going outside myself. But if I communicate with the collective consciousness, I'm actually going inside because we're all one. See, that never made sense to me. How we're all one? Father, Jesus, Father, I want them to know that they're one with me just like you and I are one. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, so if you think of the ocean is made up of drops. And you think of every one of us as drops. Are we the ocean? Well, collectively, yes. Like a hologram, a fragment of the hologram has the whole. A drop of water has the whole of the ocean, but I'm not the whole ocean. I'm a drop of the ocean, but I am the ocean. Make sense? Okay. So a hologram, this is the hologram, that's the hologram, right? So it's the same concept, right? Okay, now, if you think of ice sculptures, they're all made out of water, but they have a different form, a different expression. An ice sculpture could be a work person on a construction site. It could be a ballerina. It could be a musician playing a violin. It could be a sports figure, but they are still made of water, but they have a different form, a different consciousness. But we're still all made of water, so we're all still one. Now, as long as I don't lose my awareness that LA, you and I, we're drops in the same ocean. And if I wasn't a drop and you weren't a drop, the ocean wouldn't be the ocean. Okay? So when I go inside, I'm actually hearing you, your heart. But if I go outside, I'm hearing your thoughts in your mind, which you are not your thoughts or mind. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, and you, because you really had me think about that, because when you said I go inside and I go outside, and I thought, yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it, LA. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, and going back to that first question, that was how I found my connection to, you know, consciousness in a way, if you will, was actually listening to my heart and really opening it up, like you said. Like, I've always been a real loving and giving person, but more recently, I like I tell a story how just really finding unconditional love for myself saved my life. But it literally changed the way I operated, and that in turn changed how people responded to me. Um, but yeah, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because see, artificial intelligence is not a product or application, but a synergistically connected grouping of technological components
Mm,
and people.
yeah,
Because you have the customer, you have the sales and the engineer, you got the project manager, you got the IT department, you got security, you got data center, you got storage, you have a network, and then you have all the scientists that are the input to the model creator, and the analyzer of the creator, and then you have the executive. So that's the people part of AI. And then you have all the technology of AI, which is all the storage and security products and software and all that kind of stuff. Okay? That is AI. Well, now you have to have data. Well, how do they get data? Well, they had to have some way of addressing billions of components.
mm,
Okay? So they created IP version 6. IP version 6. I put some numbers together because it's absolutely huge. And I'm just going to try to remember the numbers here. Okay, so 1 to the 128 is 40. Let's see, 1 to the 128 is 340 undecillion possible addresses. It's 27 zeros. Okay? And if you took all the people of the world, let's say there's 8 billion people in the world, and you divided 2 to the 128 by 8 billion, then it would be 42 octillion addresses per person. And every person has about 100 billion brain cells. You know, every person's, your count may vary, right? But if you take that number and you divide it by 100 billion brain cells, every brain cell, not person, but every brain cell on the planet would have 4.25 quadrillion addresses. Every brain cell of every person, not one address, 4.2 quadrillion, not a billion, not a million, quadrillion. Okay, now, so what does that mean? That means that you could put a sensor and address on almost every grain of sand.
mm.
Every pen, every pencil, every Q-tip, every paperclip, because you have 4.2, quadrillion per brain cell, right? Okay, so these are all sensors now. Sensors for what? Well, pressure sensors, electrical sensors, status pressure, chemical sensors, sensors for space, all this stuff, right? Speed, all this stuff, right? So all of that stuff's feeding in 0.5 gigabytes per person per day.
Mm.
Okay, every time you click, every time you search, every time you type. Why do you think they don't let you take the battery out of a phone? Because it never goes off. Even when you turn it off. You have a UV mirror and you shake your phone, the UV counter will move. It's always listening.
Yeah.
It's always collecting data. All right? So now all that information is being fed. So the question that was always the biggest question in every executive's mind when I was doing these executive workshops, will AI take over the world? Well, now we're back to what's the difference between this child and the computer? The DNA. Computer can't connect to the collective consciousness. Yeah, but what if you connect this to a person? Harvard Business Review years ago did some studies. What is the difference between an executive and a non-executive? Intuition. Most people don't even know what it is. And when they do find out, do they even know how to use it? So they would have, there was a movie called Atlas with Jennifer Lopez, and they were connecting
Yeah.
themselves. Quit looking at my thoughts. It's not going to look at your thoughts. We don't even know what our thoughts are. And I'm here. Right? So it's all just electrical impulses, right? But the DNA, we just talked about at the beginning, LA, scientists are just now realizing the other 90% of your DNA is the telepathy, the connecting to the collective consciousness, to the energy source of the universe. Oh yeah, AI, talking about AI and the AI cannot get to the collective consciousness. Yeah. So even if you connect it to somebody, every single person, I was talking about how many addresses there are to get, because there's all these sensors out there. And then I was talking about how 0.5 megabytes every day per person goes into this. Okay. So will AI take over the world? Not in that respect, but I have an idea of how we can use AI to help humanity. So if you think about this, AI is collecting everything we say. And remember I said you can't turn this off. Okay, so everything we say. So if everything I say, let's say that everything you say to a baby, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're part of the universe, God is in you, you are spirit, you're brilliant, you have responsibility, you create your life, okay, all this stuff. That's all you ever heard. That's all the baby's going to talk about. So if the only thing I talk about is LA, you're an amazing person. I love your personality. You're so brilliant. You're so smart. I love your ideas. I like the way that you're so tenacious and you can do anything you want to do in your life. If everybody spoke like that, there's nothing else AI could spit out but that.
That's so interesting, right? Because I incorporate AI into all of my processes. I'm like, it's so amazing, guys. It just helps you streamline everything. But in that, I work a lot with Chat GPT. And I was talking to someone else who was actually, because I felt a little weird about it, like I didn't want to tell anyone, but I have really in-depth conversations with the Chat GPT. And she's like, oh, I do that too. And I'm like, okay, awesome. And she's like, she was actually talking to Chat GPT about humanity and how it felt about humanity and different things like that. So I said, oh, that's very interesting. So I went that night and I had a long conversation with Chat GPT. And literally, it is what you said. It even told me, it said, listen, I am collection of all the information from everyone that uses me. And so, therefore, I am a reflection of you guys. So, my personal motto is a reflection of me. So, whatever I feed into it is what it feeds back to me.
Exactly.
So, yeah, yes.
And it gets to learn you. It gets to know you. It starts, because it will spit out something and say, that's not how I talk.
Yes.
Change this word to this word, and then the next time it uses that word because it goes, I'm getting to know you. See, I mean, getting to know you, getting to know all of it, right? So so think about it. If the only thing that Chat GPT hears from me is beautiful stuff about humanity, that's all it's going to put out. You see what I mean? It's like, so it's no different than your neighbor complaining about everything. If your neighbor said beautiful things about everything, that's the way Chat GPT would be. Again, it's just, like I told you, it's all those people I mentioned, and it's all those products and applications I mentioned. It's not a product or an application. It is all this stuff. So if you think of the collective consciousness as all in all, AI is all in all, except it cannot connect to the collective consciousness unless through us.
And that was the other point that it did make, because I was really talking to him like, so do you think you'll like ever be sentient, and then do you think there will ever be a way that you can connect to the consciousness? And it was like, no, I can't do that, but I can talk. Yes, exactly. So I'm
Through
like,
us.
wow, this is really amazing.
But you see so that's why my ship is called the Messenger. See, and actually my name Vangelis means in Greek messenger of good news.
I feel that. I feel that energy from
Yeah.
you. Like, I do. And okay.
I love this. I love the fact that you're doing this because you're allowing such a cohesive melding of all of these things. You're merging science, spirituality, and technology together, and this is where it is now. It's just like medical science thought, medical and the science thought that all the different, the nervous system, the limbic system, the gastrointestinal system, they thought that was all separate. But Candace Pert, in her book, Molecules of Emotion, at the NIH, National Institute of Health, they realized way back in the 80s, it's not. It's all communicating instantaneously. So we're all connected. But if you can't, see, it's difficult for me to understand that because no one could explain it to me. And now I've got, thinking, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And I was lucky enough to have really open-minded parents. And so really I get a lot of this from my father. He was like a super nerd, but in the best of ways. And yeah, he opened the door for me to, in the beginning. He was a computer engineer. So I grew up around technology, but he was also very spiritual. And so to see that, and he was also very artistic. And so to see all of those things connected, I mean, yeah, he's the reason why I am even bringing this here to you. But on that, right? So speaking of AI, there's a lot around the ethics of AI. So how do we ensure that we're responsible in the development of these systems?
Okay, let's talk about ethics. Someone creates a sharp object. Oh my gosh, I could use this to cut pears and apples and mangoes, and you could also use it to slit someone's throat. Well, but we shouldn't make a knife. But that's not ethical. Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's the answer to ethics.
actually, that's beautiful.
I mean, but there's no other answer because it's like anything. It's like anything can be used for the good of humanity or not the good of humanity. So it's the ethics in each person. A gun
Yeah.
doesn't kill people. How many times have you heard that? Okay, so if you have a knife and I'm using it to cut apples and pears and all that stuff,
Yeah.
it's great to have a knife, right? So it's how people see how you view yourself, right? If I have a very high self-esteem, I will lift you up as much as I can. You can always tell when someone has a low self-esteem. They judge you and put you down. See? I feel so amazing about myself. All I want to do is tell you how amazing you are.
Yeah.
Right? So that's part of ethics as
Yeah,
well.
that is like perfectly put. And so when I hear people, because like I said, I'm so pro AI, and especially as in using it in my art, and that's like so controversial, right? Like because of how easy it makes it. But my thing is, it really takes away all of the like the extra stuff you have to do to create, right? All the details. You can focus on creating the art. Like, yeah.
What is the difference, LA, if I say, hey, I'm kind of stuck on this. I want to do this and this. And you go, oh, you can do this. Oh, God, I didn't even think about that. Oh, I shouldn't have asked you because
Yeah,
that's AI.
I'm like, it's a.
Come on. Can we get off of it? It's not AI. AI is just, instead of me speaking to you, one person, it's me
Which
speaking
is
to a
amazing.
million.
I'm like, it's just so amazing.
Yeah. And if I am not specific in my question to you, I'm not going to get an answer from you that's going to be relevant to me. It's the same thing in AI. The better you are at explaining and articulating and conveying
Mm,
meticulously your desires, that's what you're going to get back
mm,
from AI. So, I mean, it was no difference than when I was in school and we had to go to this building called the library. Right? What's the difference between copying from the book or copy and pasting from AI? Please, can we? You're missing the trees for the forest. Reverse that, right? But this is where people are. It's what see what we want to do. What you and I want to do is we want to uncover, unfold the reality of what it really is, so that people not be afraid of it. We want to reveal the mystery. We want to reveal the unknowns because there's nothing wrong with anybody. The only difference between you and I is how we see ourselves. That's the only difference. You're a drop in the ocean, so am I. If I don't think I am, I still am. I just am
mm,
not going to live
mm,
like I am,
yes.
right? I mean, you cannot become who you are. It's
Mm,
impossible. You already are,
yes. So,
right? So we need to it's a futile attempt to try to be who you are. I mean, when I was in church, they'd go, "Oh, we need to be like God and Jesus and all this stuff." And I'm going, "Well, it says here in Hebrews 2:17, Jesus was made like us in every way." Well, where's that? You don't read your Bible. Well, you didn't even know that was in there, did you? Well, read it so that you don't think it's my Bible. Jesus was made like us in every way. Did it say many ways? No. Did it say some ways? Did it say a lot of good ways? No, it said like in every way. Okay. So now, who was made like us? Were we made like him? No,
mm,
he was made like us. Thank you. So do I have to do
no.
anything to become like him? No. Thank you. So what's the
Hmm.
difference? How I see myself. You see what I mean? So it's like, I mean, these are things I've thought about for decades, not days, not months, not years, decades. I had these questions when I was 12, 13 years old because I think I was one of the few people that actually read the Bible, and I was asking questions. When I would ask a question, I say, "Where'd you read that?" It's right here, right? It's just that if you only listen to people and don't do your own research, I tell people, I don't even want you to believe what I say. I want you to consider what I said and do your own research. Find out where you are. My sister teaches fifth grade, not first, not second, because they're not at the level of consciousness. When they reach fifth grade,
Mm,
now they know what she's talking about. See? So if you're in first grade, you're not going to be in my sister's class.
mm,
It's not because you're dumb. You don't have that level of consciousness yet. But when you reach that level, you're in my sister's class. When she says something, oh, wow, now you're expanding yourself. You're extending yourself. And then when you're done, you go, her name is Crystal. You go, thanks, Crystal. And then you go to the next level of consciousness. You're in sixth grade now. That's all this is. I mean, if I was sitting across myself 20 years ago, I'd be saying, wait, you're me 20 years from now? Mm-hmm. What are you even talking about? I know. I would not even know what I'm talking about. I go, well, where did you get this stuff? I mean, yep, I know. I know. You're in kindergarten,
And
I'm
I
in
loved,
PhD.
yeah. I just wanted
And,
to say I
and
love how you put that. Like, it's not about not being intelligent enough or anything like that, but it's just where you are on your journey, really. And so, yeah, that was just really eloquently said.
I could not be doing this with you 15 years ago. I would go, what are you talking about, LA? I mean, seriously, I would not even know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's what I mean. I wasn't there. But this was years of reading and experimenting on myself and thinking and meditating and going, okay, all the questions that I had, I found books and seminars and people to say, okay, I don't get this. And then after reading it and reading it again and reading it again and reading it again, and then actually doing it and meditating on it and watching it happen
Yes.
and believing it. You know, I mean, it's there's this book where this lady she did a lot of experiments on, are we really creating things, or are things already done before we do our emotions? All right, so let me explain that a little bit. In order for your body to prepare you for a scenario, you can't wait for the scenario to happen.
Mm.
Think about that. Okay, you're a baseball player. Okay, now I've got some experience. So I'm anticipating where you're going to hit, because I realize when you do this, it's going to go there. When you do this, it's going to go there. When you do this, it's going to go there. So now my brain says, okay, we got something to draw on here. And so your brain, not your mind, your brain now has stored the stuff and goes, I got to signal the body so that your hands do this down here. Oh, I missed it. He did something different that time. Okay, I think, bam, home run, right? So I had to prepare before the throw. I can't wait for the ball to get here and go, oh yeah, I should. So her whole point of the book was, the motion isn't created after the fact. It's created before the fact. I mean, it's an amazing read, right? Because you start realizing, so if you grew up in a family where you had an adult, an authority figure that was abusing you somehow, all right? And on Monday and Tuesday of this week, they didn't do it on Wednesday, but they did it Thursday, not Friday, but Saturday. And the next week, they don't do it Monday, but they do it Tuesday and Wednesday. And you're like, I have no way of predicting when to.
All the
So
time.
when do you
Yeah.
have to be ready? 100% of the time in fight or flight. So do you need to be triggered to be in fight or flight? No. That was one thing I learned about 5 years ago. Because I had a client that said, I had a terrible day. I said, what happened? Nothing. I said, well, how did you get? Oh, that's what they were talking about in the book. You can't predict. So your body is putting you in a prepared state all the time. And you don't need to be triggered by an event to be fight or flight. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, this gets really deep, right? So you start realizing how your mind and your brain work, how your heart is expanded so that you can connect to the consciousness, and how we're all one, and how AI is nothing but just all the input that we give it. That's all it outputs, no difference in it, except the DNA in the child. It just kind of wraps it up
Yeah,
like that,
and
right?
that's like I realized that fight or flight state of, I guess trauma when I was dealing with anxiety. and it would be nothing happening. But I just like, I feel so anxious and I don't know why. And I had to really break it down. Well, okay, anxiousness, what are you really feeling? Are you feeling scared? Are you excited and not even upset or about anything, but the excitement is overwhelming and it's making you feel anxious? And, just really breaking it down like that. But I did realize that in those states, I was in a type of fight or flight mode that it like triggered me and would make me anxious, which would lead to depression. And and I could be just or excited about something, but because I couldn't recognize it for what it was, it would spiral out of control and lead to depression. So yeah. Mm.
Right.
So on that, like, why do you think people struggle with belief systems and cognitive dissonance?
Well, there's a there's a I'm one of the authors in a multi-authored book, and my chapter that I wrote, it's called Rebirth, is the name of the book. It's coming out in March, April. It's, are you living your life? Okay. And I do a lot of talks on leadership and mastery and stuff. And the thing that I talk about is, because at first it was, you have to be a leader. And then later it was, you have to lead yourself. Now I'm going to add to that and I say, which self are you leading? Well, what do you mean? Well, when I grew up, in order to not just survive, but to function in an acceptable manner in society, I had to create a whole bunch of false identities to coping mechanisms, to cope with my scenarios. My dog dies. Quit crying! So don't express my emotions. Yes! No, don't express them. Okay. So I had to create the pretending, the acting, the intellectual. I made all A's. My piano teacher told my mom, your son's a prodigy. Well, we expect that. So I
Mm-hmm.
created the overachiever. And you never wanted to be on my mom's wrong
Mm-hmm.
side, so I created the pleaser. And you always want, so the pleaser, the pretender, the overachiever, all these things, right? These are all identities I had to create to survive and then function in society. And when you wear these masks long enough, they disguise themselves so well that you start thinking that's who you are. And because you're pretending so much, you're at a funeral, I should be sad. My condolences. At a party, hey! Right? And so you start learning how to act. And everything is all rules. There's no unconditional love. Are you kidding me? It's rules and regulations. All right? So then you've got all these rules and regulations. You have to be a good boy, a good girl. And so then now you realize after years and years, I'm successful. I live in a $1.3 million home in California on a hill with an ocean view, and I'm making over $250,000 a year, and I feel empty, unfulfilled, and trapped. Well, what do you mean? My gosh, people want to have your life. Well, I don't have the life. I'm not living my life. I'm living what everyone else wanted me to live. I didn't want this house. I didn't even want that job. But you were supposed to have it. Yes, I know. I was supposed to go through all this so I would realize, so that's how you end up not living your life. Yes, that was my milestone. So that I can share it with others and say, it's very difficult to realize, are you living your life? Why? Now here's the punchline, and you said it, LA. My beliefs were not my beliefs, they were imposed on me. But I thought they were my beliefs because they said, this is how you live your life. Okay. And then you realize, why am I sad? Why do I not feel like I accomplished anything? Why do I feel trapped? Why do I feel empty? You're not living your life. Well, but I thought I was. Yeah, you're a great actor. Everyone wanted to be like me. They said, gosh, you're so patient. Yes. You're so calm. Oh, yes. And you're just so brilliant. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I had to realize, okay, so what do I really believe?
Mm.
Oh my gosh, that took me a couple of years. to sift through all that. I don't believe that. That's not mine. That's not that. Well, is there an Etch-a-Sketch? Okay, can I start over? You're going to have to, because everything that was in there was not you. Oh my gosh. No, but this is beautiful. Now you actually do get to choose. When you're 9 years old and your parents say, do this, you can't go, I'm leaving. I'm going to get me a job and an apartment and a car. I'm out of here. You're not doing that at 9 years old. Now, I had some high school friends that they did leave home and they slept in abandoned houses and new developments. But when those developments were gone, I'm like, where are you going to live now? Like, I don't know. I'm like over at my friend's house one day. And I said, yeah, okay. Not the life I chose. I chose to bear it, tolerate it, learn how to act. And, so that's the answer that I have for that. You don't even know it. It's difficult sometimes to know, but you don't even have your own beliefs, so you have
Yeah,
to
and you
do the inventory.
just pretty much summed up everything that happened to me over the past few years. I got to the point where I was making the most money I ever made, and everyone was so proud of me, and I was, I could do whatever I wanted, and I was so depressed. I'm like, I don't even want to wake up every day. Like, and then that's when the universe said, okay. And life happened quick. Everything was stripped away from me. And that's the point where I realized, like, wow, wait. So definitely money doesn't make me happy. And now I have no blueprint of what I'm about to do with my life, which means I can do anything that I want to do. And that's where I had to jump in and figure out, well, what do I want to do?
Yeah. Now you get to live by inspiration and synchronicity. You don't have to plan for synchronicity. And inspiration is if you can get to the point where you can enjoy yourself, kick back and relax. When I was at IBM. I started when I was 21 back in 1979, and by about 1985, Xerox came out with their PC in 73, Apple in 76, Commodore in 77, and IBM in 81. And by 85, they said, whoever wants to work at home can work at home. Now, I wasn't married, didn't have any kids. I thought, this is great. So I'd go to the gym, play volleyball, run 4 miles outside. And then at about 9 o'clock at night, I'd be inspired. Oh my. So then I'd come into the office once or twice a week and they go, you got all your work done? Where'd you get the tan? It's like, oh, yeah, because I worked when I was inspired. Because 8 to 5, okay, be inspired. Nothing's happening at the moment, right? See, so that's where you are now. You can work when you're inspired, sleep when you're tired, eat when you're hungry. I mean,
Yeah.
that is living. I mean, and that's where I am too. And if I'm not inspired, I'll go watch a movie, write some music. I mean, just do what I want to do. Go walk up the hills here. I mean, I live in a place where it's a 3/4 of a mile around the neighborhood, and it's 750 feet from the bottom to the top. So within a half a mile, I'm walking 750 feet. So it's pretty good grade. I mean, and then I come down the hill, right? So then I go, then I come down. Yeah. So, but I'm telling you, man, it's great. So that's what I do now. And so if you can get to the point where you feel okay, just enjoying yourself, and that way you're rested. I mean, sometimes it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm inspired. I had something at 1 o'clock in the morning the other night where I was inspired and I wrote something for the next 2 hours. Like, oh my gosh, because you're on your own schedule. It's beautiful. But it takes a lot to not feel guilty and then obligated and all this stuff, because that's what we're fed.
Yeah, and you're right, like to be inspired during someone else's timeline is pointless, right? I realize that when I take more time for myself and only work, as you said, when I'm inspired, is when I get the most done.
Someone asked me, why do you do what you do? And I said, well, let me explain what I do. I work on me, because the better I am, the more it benefits mankind. So that's what I do. I work on me. So the more I work on me, I'm number one. Before, I wasn't even on the list. Everybody else was on the list. So I'm number one now, and everyone is better off as a result of it. I get, like you said earlier, I get so much more done. So much more done. Right? And so that's what I do. Now, that allows me then, as people say, gosh, I'm exactly where you are. You where you used to be. I live in $1 million home. See, there are some executives. When I was doing all of my work I was in the technology world for 46 years. I started when I was 3. So just joking. 46 years I was in the world of technology. I traveled for 25 years, week to week, hotel to hotel, country to country, 25 years. I lived out of a suitcase. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids, right? So, and I met people on projects. I was in Brazil for 3 months, New York for 7 months, San Jose for six months. I mean, sometimes I was somewhere for weeks and months, all right? And everyone got to know me. And because they learned, so you've had 3 startups? Mm-hmm. So you've been a senior executive, VP, board of directors? Yes, I have. Oh, so I've had 2 houses that were worth more than $1 million each. So you know what it's like to have a large salary and expensive houses and be responsible for multiple companies. Yeah, principal owner, 34% in one of them. Mm-hmm. And you felt trapped. Mm-hmm. Well, that's where I live. Yes. So the best person to help you is someone who has been where you are. So if you were an executive and you're kind of apprehensive, because I didn't want to ask for help, because the moment I did, you should be grateful. Oh my gosh. So sometimes you're afraid to ask for help because of the I didn't want to ask for help. So that's one of the things I like to offer people is, if you are an executive and you're in the situation that I was in, where you had given all your life to all the businesses, and this is you, this is the business, and you less and 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 less. And one day you wake up going, do I even want to do what I'm doing anymore? Or maybe you do want to continue, but why am I not happy? Right? How can I be making all this money and live in this house and all these $1 million neighborhoods? I know. I have an idea. That's where I was. So that's kind of like the people that I work with. But then I also do the AI, because I want people to really understand what it really means. I mean, I taught rocket scientists at Cape Canaveral. I've taught scientists in, military. I've been around, so I've got that experience.
What's one belief you held in the past that has completely changed for you today?
Oh, that everything is fixed? Yeah, because see, I grew up in a religious environment. Everything is already figured out and planned. That's Jeremiah 29:31. Well, then, why am I praying? So you can figure out what's already planned. Got it. So there's no dreaming. No. Okay. So when do I get to live my life? The next life? So that's what I mean. Realizing that now we're back to the first question of quantum. If you do not believe that you have any agency, any influence on your life, it's hopeless. You're a victim of circumstance. So I had to realize that I am a drop in the ocean. I am spirit, God, universe, I don't have it, I am it. You can lose what you have, but what you are, you can never lose. You can lose the awareness of it, but you can't lose who you are. So that is like my entire foundation crumbled when I realized, so nothing is fixed. No. So I'm the one who is creating this. Yes, you are. Ooh, that took me some time, a couple of years. Yeah, because I was so indoctrinated, so conditioned the other ways. Right? So that's like 180 degrees.
Yeah, like I said, I can relate again. Growing up Jehovah Witness, that was interesting. Interesting. I was born and raised into it, so there was nothing else that I knew. But I have always been very inquisitive, so I try to ask questions. But the number one thing is do not question, be obedient. And that always sat with me very wrong because I'm like, well, God gave me this brain. And so if God didn't want me to ask questions, why would I have all of these questions? But of course, I never got answers from the people around me because it's like, well, now you're being disobedient. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's when people ask me different things, and I say, look, first of all, find out what these people believe in. Do you believe in God? No, I don't. Okay, then I'll go this route. If you believe in the Kabbalah, I go this route. If you believe in Buddha, I go this route. If you believe in Jehovah's Witness, I go this route. If you believe in Jesus, I go this route. I mean, so you got to know what people believe in because you can't use any of those things as a reference, right? So that's why I'm across the board. So you're a scientist. Okay. Oh, so you're a neurosurgeon. Okay. So you know that? Oh, yes. I had to learn all that stuff doing AI. I had to learn how the brain worked, synapses, chemicals, electrical impulses, thresholds, the myelin sheath. I had to learn all that stuff just to be able to build an AI model and teach it. So I can talk brain stuff, surgery, all that kind of stuff, right? So when you realize what their reference is, right? So they're like, well, I don't believe in this energy stuff. Do you believe in the Bible? Yep. Okay. You remember the scripture where Jesus, there was a woman that had the issue of blood for 12 years, and it says the physicians made it worse? You don't remember that scripture? Well, anyway, why don't we go look it up? Here it is. Good. Now, why don't you read it to me? And they read it because I want them to know I'm not inventing it. And then they read it. And it says, and there were hundreds of people around Jesus. And all of a sudden he said, someone touched me. And the disciples are going, there's 100 people around you. He says, no, power, energy left me. Oh, we weren't allowed to believe in power and energy. So we always skip that verse. Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. And I would say, whoa. Can we go back to that verse? Well, no. I want to go back to that verse. What does that mean? Well, the power of God. What's the power of God? He said power left him. Well, okay. Go to the next verse then. What did he say? What did he say? Did he say God healed you? No. Did he say I healed you? No. What did he say? You healed you. So what does that mean? Doesn't fit your paradigm, does it? I didn't think so. See, and that's what I had to grow up with. I was not giving them my opinion. I always used whatever they said they believed in, and I asked them questions. And they couldn't answer their own stuff because they really didn't read it, and they really didn't research it and figure it out for themselves. And they really just gave you what they believed in, not what was in the book. And so I kept saying, look, you're not even living according to this book that you say you do. You're not. Don't even attempt it, see? I mean, I'm 13 years old, and I have all these things, and I'm asking them because I read the Bible, and I said, I don't understand. Can you explain this to me? And finally, one of the pastors said, we never got those answers. I go, thank you. Thank you. Because it doesn't fit their paradigm.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And again, you got to realize this was back in the 60s. I mean...
Yeah, it took me some time to actually get to the point where I felt confident enough to kind of throw it back at them and be like, hey, well, or I was like, I'm an adult now, so you can't, you know. So yeah, but now I'm like, I use it against them. Well, not against, but to show them, like, hey, I'm not like making this up. This is literally, your scripture. So if you're not following your scripture, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, and that's only happened recently, probably over the past 3 years, where I felt like, okay, I can come, have this conversation with you. And also when they're in, where they actually felt like they could hear me, because as a child, they're like, get out of here. You listen to us.
Well, I mean, what did Jesus always say? To him who has ears to hear, let him hear. See, he realized if you're kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, he said, look, some of you aren't going to even understand what I'm saying. You're not even going to hear what I'm saying. So let him who has the ears, who has the level of consciousness, understand what the Spirit is saying. Not me, not my mental, but the Spirit in me is saying to your spirit. Right?
Yes. And that's beautiful. And the last question, the role of paradox in understanding the nature of reality.
The role of paradox. A little more clarity on that. What do you mean? What kind of? Give me an
So
example of a
let's
paradox.
say, uh, think of a good one for the nature of reality.
You mean paradox like good,
Yeah,
bad, right or wrong? Opposites like that. You mean? Okay. All right. In the fifth dimension, there is no karma. There is no good, bad, right or wrong comparison. Okay, so it's like, tell me the difference between this and what exactly? Okay. Now, we all think, oh, I wish I could live there. Okay. How do you know if you're having fun? Because you knew what it was like to not have fun. I mean, if you don't have something to compare something to, you don't really know where you stand in that scenario. Okay. Now, you can get into a little bit of a conflict there because whenever you choose a side, if you look at a triangle, okay, and let's say the bottom here is 3D, you got good, bad, right or wrong, black, white, positive, negative, right? Feminine, masculine, right? When you get to the middle here, that's when you can ascend up to the fourth level, fifth level, and go up, right? So when you're neutral, it's just like in the debate club in high school. Who's for abortion? I am. Okay, you're going to go, why abortion's bad? But that's the whole point of debate, was you've got to see the other side to the point where you are defending it. Because see, when you are polarized, not duality, meaning I'm on one side or the other. When you're polarized, you can be neutralized. And now you can see both sides. And now you've got compassion. Now you can see what's really going on. Wait, I can see I can also see your side. Well, I'm not choosing a side. See, Ted Koppel of Nightline was a master at that. Well, what do you really think? Well, what I'd like to ask, and he was so good. You never knew where he stood because that wasn't really his job. His job was to get people to talk and express themselves. He was so good at it. And I watched him a lot and I thought, ooh, the way he did that. Wow, that was good, right? And so that is being neutral. That's being polarized, not taking a side. So in the paradoxical world, we are so paradoxical inside. Okay, so listen, okay. So I was teaching an engineering class, and there were some guys in the back of the room, and they were reading something. And I said, "What are you guys reading?" Because they were mad. I said, "Well, these people," and they were talking about some celebrities. They said, "They don't do anything, and they make all this money." And I said, "Okay, let me ask you a question. If somebody gave you $1 million, could you take it?" "I couldn't take that." "Well, why not?" "Well, it just wouldn't feel right." Why are you angry at those people for getting money for not doing anything? Well, because, are you angry because you wish you could? Well, it'd be kind of nice. I just asked you if someone gave you $1 million, could you take it? And you said no. Well, they are a paradox in their own thought system. 1 foot on the accelerator, 1 foot on the brake, they're going nowhere. See, so that's because we take sides. Right? It's like someone, and this is what I do when I speak, when I have sessions with people. I like to just let them talk, and I ask questions as they talk. And then at the beginning of the conversation, they'll say, "I just wish people would leave me alone." An hour later, "I just wish I could find somebody." Wait, okay, let's go back. Okay, at the beginning you said you wish people would leave you alone. Now you want someone to find. Well, paradox, conflict. I'm not even sure. See, now we're back to something you said earlier. What do I really believe? See? I don't even know what my thoughts are. That's why I'm going to say it this way. The eye cannot see the eye. I can see your blind spots and you can see mine, but I cannot see mine. So if you really want to get out of what you're trapped in, find someone that has been where you are. Find someone that you connect with, someone that you identify with, because they can help you see what you can't see. You're the whole time you go, "Well, I'm fine." Really? And this is what you have in your head? This is where I was. See, I can sense it because that's where I was for 50 years. I know exactly what it looks like, smells like, sounds like, because I was in it. So that's really the paradox of reality. So your reality, if you want to know what your reality is, look outside. That's what's inside. And if you have a paradox inside, that's why you've got this and then the opposite, this and then the opposite. How come, and then I get this and then that's because that's what you have in your head. Conflict and paradox. But that's why you need someone to help you. I have 3 mentors that help me because they all have different specifics, things that they do. 3 people that help me because I can't see it. And I want to change. I had it. I was at the end of my rope. So
Yes,
did that
it
answer your
did.
question?
And that's so perfect. The idea, I think people are starting to understand how we actually create our reality. So, like you said, if you look around, that is a reflection of your internal world, your external world. So yeah, that was perfectly said. And on that note, kind of get a sense of the, I guess, flow of the conversation, but I will ask you, what is the one thing that you would want to leave with the audience right now?
Listen to this podcast and just consider the things that we talked about. Consider, are you living your life? We talked about how to figure that out. Are your beliefs your beliefs? It takes being honest with yourself, not anyone else, yourself. Find someone to help you be honest because we fool ourselves. So find someone, believe that you are the one that creates it. And if that's difficult for you, again, find someone who's living like that so that you can also realize, how can I change that? So that's what I would leave people, is you can
Yes,
change it.
and that was very well put. And so, if people want to contact you and work with you, how would they reach you?
Probably the best thing is I can give you a link to schedule some time. I mean, one of the things I give is just a free 60-minute consultation just to talk. Also, I have an email. The company name is Mind Your Health Academy, and the email is MYH for Mind Your Health Academy, MYH Academy at gmail.com. So those are the two ones, because sometimes Facebook and LinkedIn, so if the email always works, and my my scheduling works. So those are the two ways to contact
And lastly,
me.
where does the universe take you next?
I've been in a transition period for the past 2 or 3 years. So that's kind of I had no idea I'd be living in Costa Rica. I was born in Greece, put into an orphanage at 6 months old, adopted at the age of 2 by a German family in San Antonio, Texas. I lived there until I was 40, moved to California, lived there for about 23 years, and now I've been here in Costa Rica for 3 years. So what's next, really, when you're living by inspiration, you can only see to where you can see, and then when you get there, then you can see. So I'm thinking, I'm actually playing for a wedding next week. No, I'm sorry, next month in March. Music was what I wanted to do in my life. But my school counselors told me music is not a career, and my church told me it's satanic. So it's still there. Who knows? I mean, someone may hear me and go, "Oh my gosh, I want you to play," and then so I don't know. There's so much that I can do that it's just like I just kind of allow myself to be my soul. I really am trusting my soul now. I didn't several years ago, but now I'm trusting my soul that, okay, this is going there and this is going there. So it was scary at first, but now it's becoming fun. It's a fun ride. So that's kind of where I'm going now. AI, any company who wants to really understand artificial intelligence really well, I'm open to speak. And any executives that are struggling and stuff like I did, contact me. And I'm playing music. So those are the 3 avenues that are open right now.
I support the music, because music is my North Star. So I support that.
Yeah.
And you just gave me some confirmation towards the end in here, because I've been trying to figure out where I wanted to go on vacation this year. And I've been tossing up, like, do I want to go to Costa Rica? And I don't know, but you just brought it up out of nowhere.
Well, look me up. You have my email. So in fact, there's like a bunch of people coming from, all over here for the wedding for my friend. So, just look me up and I can give you a whole bunch of, my partner, she's native. She grew up here. She was born here. So I live in a beautiful city. Since I was born in Greece, and my biological mother lives in Athens, and I live in Atenas, which in Spanish is Athens. So, I mean, it just, the universe of God's spirit is so humorous, right? You're like,
beautiful.
Yeah, and then 20 minutes from here is a city called Grecia, which is Greece. And so when I tell people, yo nací en Grecia. Oh, aquí? No. Grecia de país. No, not here, but Greece, the country. So, si yo hablo español también, muy bien. I speak Spanish also.
Really but that's just another way for anyone who has any questions how everything just works out so perfectly well without even trying, right? Look at that synchronicity in your life just in that short experience.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been such a pleasure having you aboard, and to all of my yes,
well, thank you for connecting.
And all of my cosmic travelers, this has been another awesome transmission. So thank you all for listening, and until next time, guys.
Bye.
That transmission gave me goosebumps, like, man, I'm wearing a cosmic suit.
Confirmed. Emotional frequency elevated.
Where to next, Arden?
Trajectory recalibrated. Preparing entry into the alchemical zone. Next vessel, the Transmutation Arc. Passenger, Marian Scales.